영권 골나갑니다. 정동현입니다. 정동현이 역전을 만듭니다. 2점의 갈비를.
Winners of the AFC Champions League 2020, Ulsan Hyundai.
You're listening to the K-League United podcast, proud partner of Football Nation Radio.
Hello, annyeonghaseyo. Welcome to the K-League United podcast. I'm Matthew Binns. No Ryan Walters or Paul Neat this week as we continue to adopt a rotational approach to the ACL group stage to ensure we keep things fresh and make it to the knockout rounds. Joining me in a back three is a man who can give Dave Bultwees a run for his money in knee-sliding celebrations. It's Dan Croydon.
Oh, yes. Yeah. How's it going?
Not too bad, Dan. Yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. The sleeping patterns all over the place at the moment, of course, with all these late night football going on. But yeah, I'm getting through it.
Yeah, well, one person whose sleep patterns might be on a normal schedule is the regular-sized defender eventually breaking the deadlock. It's Jung Muyeol.
Hello, how's it going? Yeah, I'm very happy with the schedules, actually. It's very, very comfortable for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you're actually getting to watch all the Champions League, and then you're in the normal time zone for the Euros at the moment. How much work are you actually getting done at the moment, Muyeol?
Well, to be honest, not really. There's so much distractions around me, so it's pretty much hard for me to concentrate on my work, actually.
Well, but still plenty of football to take in, and you've got the Copa America as well, so football never stops.
Yeah, it never stops.
Well, today, listener, we are going to be presenting a shorter pod than usual, hopefully in a bid to turn it around before it gets too outdated, especially given the pace at which all these fixtures are coming at. As we intend to look at the results from week one in the AFC Champions League before then completing last week's player interview collection with an appearance from Jeonbuk's Kim Bo-kyung. Yeah, he's joining us. But later, we'll then give you our initial thoughts on the first round and what we expect going forward. However, there is only one place to start, really, and that's with a quick detour out of Korea to Hong Kong Premier League side Kitchee, where former Incheon United Seoul Suwon and Daegu striker Dame Damjanovic has finally broken the ACL goal-scoring record. Kitchee played their second round match against Cerezo Osaka on Sunday, and despite losing, Daeun's 38th minute goal proved to be his record-breaking 38th in the competition. Sorry, I saw 39 then and realised it was his age. Shame that didn't all line up nicely, wasn't it? But that 38...
It's easy to remember, just 38 goals in a 38 minutes.
Poetic almost, as they scored it at that point.
Yeah.
And in doing so, he's overtaken Lee Dong-guk as the all-time ACL goal-scoring record. Dan, how big of an achievement is this?
Oh, it's a massive achievement, and especially for a foreign striker. Mm-hmm. You know, he's been in several clubs, of course, all across Asia, but it just shows, you know, his longevity within Asian football. And he said it himself in a tweet, maybe yesterday it was, after the game. He said, you know, only those who have played in Asia know how big an achievement this is. And it's true, you know, usually foreign strikers don't stick around long enough to get anywhere near this number of goals in the ACL.
No, exactly. And the fact that ACL level teams or teams vying for the ACL like Daegu, they've constantly picked him up because they just know the proven quality that he is. And I guess that leads me to you, Muyeol, because he was at Daegu last season. Do you kind of wish he was still there now?
Well, I wish he was with us, actually, because at the moment we are pretty short of a player. I mean, we need more defender, to be honest, but I mean, just the more the merrier, to be honest. And then just having like a striker like a Daeun, who is very clinical in front of goal, I mean, would be massive addition to already talented attackers like Sejinya, Edgar. So I would be happy if he was with us.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, who's to say he can't score more than 38? There are four more games at least for Kitchee in this adventure, and given the competition's format this year, potentially even more as well. So, you know, he's and all the goals he's scored in Hong Kong, all the awards he's won in Hong Kong in his short time there, he could go on to really, really make that record his own. So yeah, I guess congratulations to Dayan. It's a fantastic achievement, and yeah, we wish him the best of luck in the rest of the competition. And it hopefully won't be at the expense of any Korean sides. Well, maybe not Jeonbuk. Let's say Pohang, because Pohang is a team not represented by the three of us today, but Pohang have been in action twice, in fact, by the time we are recording this. They've opened up last Tuesday against Ratchaburi FC, winning 2-0. It went out in a 4-2-3-1. They scored the first goal 11 minutes in. Shin Jin-ho played it out wide to Palacios, who delivered a floating cross within 6 yards of the goal mouth and headed in by Boris Tashi. Ratchaburi did hit the crossbar, it should be said, but I think Pohang kind of looked the better team in all of this. Tashi was removed in the second half, so any hopes of Tashi Hanbondo were quickly dashed. But yeah, they did wrap it up quite nicely with Lee Sang-hyop finding a goal late on, given a generous amount of space really inside the opponent's penalty box to let fire. However, Pohang did play again, and they've lost 3-0 to Nagoya Grampus. It was a similar shape. Palacios was notably bent, but Pohang looked a lot less sharp in this one. Nagoya, in my opinion, they were tearing Pohang's defence apart at times. They got a goal through Yachiro Kakitani at the 34th minute before Pohang saw red. Shin Kwan-hun, who handled it in the box, giving a penalty to Matthias, who converted, and then Matthias converting again with 10 minutes to spare. Did either of you catch Pohang's performances in this competition?
No, I haven't. But I have seen a little bit of Nagoya in the J League, and they look the real deal. They're the early front runners in terms of East Asia for me. Mm-hmm.
They really looked a class above Pohang in that match, and it makes you wonder how much of a difference had Song Min-kyu been able. If Song Min-kyu had been able to go to this tournament, whether he could have caused Nagoya some problems. But yeah, Pohang, they currently sit third at the time of recording, but it's only 2 games in. So we're going to move on from that and go on to another team I stayed up to an unreasonable hour to watch. A much hyped team led by a former player and defensive-minded manager with a lot of goodwill behind him, creating performances that defied the fan base slightly, but will probably garner the results needed at this stage. Not that it matters, though, as we'll know they'll be knocked out on penalties as soon as the knockouts come around. So, yes, while England are facing Germany this week, Jeonbuk were also in action against Chiang Rai United, going out 2-1 victors. It was an equally balanced half, from my opinion. Lee Sung-gee's goal was the only difference. Lovely half volley on about the half-hour mark, just from outside the box. Jeonbuk did grow into it in the second half, and Kunimoto was eventually fouled in Chiang Rai's penalty area, with Gustavo making no mistake from the spot. Jeonbuk were left on tenterhooks for the final stages after Lee-yong misplaced the clearance, shall we say, and it landed straight at the feet of Akanit Panya, who pulled back what turned out to be just a consolation goal. So on the whole, I thought it was an experienced performance from Jeonbuk, doing enough to win without overexerting themselves, which I think is probably wise during this compact schedule ahead. Again, throw both of you under the bus. Did any of you manage to catch Jeonbuk's victory in this competition?
It was, I think it was a pretty good game in the first half when the Lee Sung-gee scored lovely half-volley goal. And then I think the manager Kim Sang-sik made too many changes at once. I think he brought 3 players on just before they conceded 1 goal. So those substitute players really developed into the game. So yeah, I mean, and also I think because the player, I get an impression that the player actually didn't do 100% on the pitch because of probably the schedules, because they just need to conserve some energies for the games a couple of days later.
Yeah, I certainly felt that. I mean, I'm going to probably touch on Jeonbuk later when we talk about what we've learned from this, but I felt that the fullbacks particularly were reluctant to come forward. I think that's probably a combination of them trying to conserve energy, especially with Lee-yong being one of those fullbacks, and also trying not to overexpose the defence in these early stages. But yeah, we'll probably touch more on Jeonbuk's defensive depth or lack thereof later on in the podcast. But next up on the Korean team schedule was Daegu FC, and it didn't all go according to plan, did it, Muyeol?
No, actually, it didn't. Actually, it went to the plan until we scored a goal, and just until we missed the penalty, I think it was a pretty exciting game for the neutral. I mean, even it was exciting for me, just watching the game through the TV. I think we played really well against J-League leader at the moment, because if you look at the match record, it's just the invincible. It's a formidable record, just a 30 games unbeaten record since November 2020. So I was really worried because we would fall apart. Because in 2019 AFC Champions League, when we played against Hiroshima, Sanfrecce Hiroshima, by then they were leading the J-League at the top of the table. So, and then we were really hopeless against them. So I was really worried about when we were about to play against Kawasaki, but we did really well actually.
And it wasn't there was one more match we're going to include in this week 1 recap, and that's Ulsan Hyundai, who the champions of this competition. Let's
let's say the full name. Yes, champions of Asia.
Champions of Asia, Ulsan Hyundai. Tell us what happened, Dan.
Well, you stole my shtick about England.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Staying up past my bedtime to watch a drab 1-0 win in the group stage. we were even in the white kits as well. This
Actually,
this was an England opener. Yeah, England opener written all over it. It was certainly didn't win over any neutrals with that. It was. I've got here 654 passes, 0 shots on target. I mean, we won 1-0, by the way. We did win in the end. We got the 3 points, but it went down as an own goal. The winning goal on 91 minutes, I think it was. It somehow went down as an own goal. I'm pretty sure Hinterseer got a flick onto it on target, so I think he could get it. But Oh Se-hoon came on towards the end, about the last 15 minutes, got a free header from a corner. It was the only real mistake that Vittel made all evening. They defended extremely well. It had a feeling of it about, like an international, one of those qualifying internationals where one team is just barely getting out of second gear and hoping the goal comes at some point. Vittel were camped on the edge of their area and for the last 20 minutes were just hoofing the ball out of play, trying to hold on. It was their debut in the competition, looking for just a point for sure. I don't know how much to read into it. Like Muyeol says about Jeonbuk, I feel Ulsan were conserving something. They weren't exactly going all out. So there's a little bit of preserving fitness and things like that. The other thing is that we arrived a little bit later than everyone else. We had a K-League game last weekend. So we only got there on Tuesday. So probably first day of training was Wednesday. We'll find out much more about how Ulsan are going to do when they play BG in their home stadium on Tuesday. So depending when this goes out, it might have happened already, and we've got answers to that question already. But yeah, we got the win. Certainly not the most exciting game, but we move on.
Yeah, and move on shall all three of us. Muyeol, though, you did put your hand up halfway through that. Did you have anything to add?
I think the goal scorer, it was own goal at the time when the game finished, and then it changed to Hinterseer.
It's changed back again. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Because they announced it first for Hinterseer, then the stadium,
and then own goal
10 minutes later, and back and forth. I'm glad he got it, though. He definitely played the ball towards the net on target. I think he should get it.
Moving on, though, we will be talking about things we have learned from this first week of fixtures. But first, Muyeol and I, we interviewed Jeonbuk's Kim Bo-kyung. For those listening on the podcast, you'll be able to hear it's going to just sound like everything's continuing because I'll be asking the questions and Muyeol will be providing the voice of Kim Bo-kyung. He will be there, I promise. But for those watching on Patreon, here is the video of him being interviewed. So, take it away, Kim Bo-kyung. So, this is your 6th time in the AFC Champions League, having played with Cerezo Osaka, Kashiwa Reysol, Ulsan Hyundai, and of course, Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors. As a player, what makes this tournament special?
아시아 챔피언스 리그는 선수로서
For a player, the Asian Champions League is a very honorable competition and the one that everyone wants to participate in at least once.
많은 출전을 했고 또 올해도 이렇게
Personally, I've been lucky enough to play in it a lot, and as a footballer, I'm grateful to be able to take part every year.
경기장에서 뛰고 싶어하는 대화를 하고 있어요.
You're also in the interesting position of having faced Jeonbuk in this competition when playing for Suretse Osaka in 2011 and Kashiwa Reysol in 2018. From the perspective of J-League sides, what does a clash with Jeonbuk mean? So how is Jeonbuk perceived in Japan?
Jeonbuk Hyundai is a strong team in the K-League, so when I faced Jeonbuk Hyundai when I was in J-League, I would give a lot of information to my teammates. Even though we prepared a lot at that time and played against Jeonbuk, I felt they were quite a tough opponent. Jeonbuk Hyundai is perceived as a team that shows a strong performance in a big tournament, which makes their status very high in Japan.
And from your knowledge of J-League, what threat do group opponents Gamba Osaka pose? Are you expecting the likes of Kim Yong-kwon and Ju Se-jung to cause Jeonbuk issues?
일본 팀에 한국 선수가 있다는 거는 어떻게 보면
Having a Korean player on the Japanese team is quite positive for them. There are parts where the players can provide the details of what football Jeonbuk plays and even the characteristics of each player. But with that in mind, I don't think it's going to be a big deal as long as we go out stronger and better prepared.
In the group, you'll also be facing Chiang Rai United and Tampines Rovers, two sides that Jeonbuk and yourself have not faced before. What kind of threat do you think they can pose, and how do you prepare to face sides from foreign leagues that the club may have little experience with facing?
There are always concerns when playing against a new team, but there's something to look forward to. Tactically and strategically speaking, we are going to prepare for the game as much as we can. Of course, when you play against a new team, you do some analysis of your opponent. But there are many things that change from time to time on the pitch. However, we have a lot of know-how to cope with such changes, so I think we can play a good game.
So, this year's AFC Champions League will be in a bubble like last year's competition, with each group hosted in one neutral country and played over the span of a couple of weeks, all while away from crowds to help prevent the spread of COVID. So, as a player, what are the biggest challenges of training and playing in such an environment? And are there any benefits?
When the ACL was in parallel with the league, there were many difficulties due to the long distance to travel. In that respect, there are many positive aspects in that we can focus on the quality of the game and the tournament itself. On the other hand, there are difficulties such as conditioning because we have to gather in one place and play a long competition.
Despite success in the K-League and FA Cup last year, Jeonbuk were unable to make it out of the group stage in the Champions League for the first time since 2012. What lessons have been learned from that, and are you confident that they've been addressed this time around?
개인적으로도 그렇고 팀적으로도 그렇고 저희는 굉장히 매년 우승을 하기 위해서
Personally, as a team, we are challenging ourselves to win every year, and I'm sure our fans were very disappointed and shocked last year. Based on last year's experience, we are working hard here so that we don't do the same thing again.
또 계속 준비를 하기 때문에 어떻게 보면
In a way, I think last year's result will be the foundation for a good performance this season.
So, on a more positive note, you were part of the 2016 Jeonbuk side that lifted the AFC Champions League trophy. What were the key elements within the team that contributed to that success? And can these elements still be seen within the current Jeonbuk squad today?
어떻게 보면 리그 우승보다 더 어렵다고
I felt it was more difficult than winning the league because it was a tournament and the travel time and distance were very long. Despite the fact we had good players and played in good conditions in every game, There are many difficult matches. In ACL competitions, the will to win is very important, and in a way, a little luck is also needed. In this regard, we seem to have won the 2016 Asian Champions League because we were well prepared and everything came together nicely in our favor. It was a memorable tournament as a player.
So tell us a little bit more about that campaign. How did it feel playing in such a final, and what do you remember most from that match?
일단 결승 상대
We learned during the preparation process that our opponent in the final was a good team, so we spent more time and effort preparing than we would do with other games, and prepared in a strong state of mind. The most memorable moment was when the players were holding off for the last minutes before the final whistle, and when the final whistle blew, the players jump onto the pitch and celebrate the victory. This memory is like a good memory that comes to my mind every time I think of an ACL competition or go to the tournament.
Okay, and well, finally, do you think this Jeonbuk side can repeat the achievement and lift the Champions League trophy in 2021?
저희는 항상 우승을 하기 위해서
We always go to this tournament aiming to win, and we are also doing well in the K-League. Furthermore, we represent the league and we are preparing to play well and be victorious.
정말 저희가 우승할 수 있는 좋은 기회라고 생각했고
I think this is a great opportunity to win, and we want to show our fans the trophy again.
팬분들께 보여드릴 수 있습니다.
Kim Bo-kyung, thank you for your time.
네, 고맙습니다.
FNR is a revolutionary football-dedicated digital platform, the first of its kind in Australia. It provides a 24/7 live online radio platform experience, podcast hub, and acts as a content provider for TV, radio, and digital. Having reached millions of listeners and football fans since launching, FNR is accessible worldwide via its website or app, providing a platform to discuss, debate, and celebrate the world game. We are your voice of football, FNR Football Nation Radio.
Hello and welcome back to the K-League United podcast. I'm your host for today, Matthew Binns, and I am joined by Muyeol Jung.
Hello.
Switch the name around there. Reading it as I can see it on the screen. And I'm also joined by Dan Croydon.
Hello.
Before the break, we ran down the opening week results, and we also heard from Kim Bo-kyung. And now we're going to get our takeaways from the first week. Perhaps it might be too soon to make drastic conclusions, but where would be the fun if we were not to do that? So we're going to start with Muyeol. Muyeol, what is your takeaway from the first week of ACL football?
In terms of Daegu, I think we are pretty much better than I thought we would be because of some of the players missing this AFC Champions League because of the Olympic teams, the training camp. But overall, I think most of teams still quite strongly felt the absence of their key players.
There was promise against Kawasaki, I felt. You seem to have had encouragement from the result. All right then, well, swiftly moving on then. My personal takeaway, it's also along my own my own club colours here. I've gone for something about Jeonbuk's defensive options and tactics. As alluded to previously, Jeonbuk do have the depth in midfield, they have the depth in attack, but they are somewhat threadbare in defence, and not just as they have been all season. They have injuries in Chae Chul-sun and Lee Ju-young, and they have players at the Olympics in Song Bom-kun and Lee Yo-hyun, in addition to not having many strong options at fullback anyways. Lee Bom-young, the replacement goalkeeper, well, he's decent enough. He's got lots of experience in the K-League. I'm not too worried about that. But Lee Young at right back, now he's a threat when he's fit, but struggle to maintain fitness in a heavy schedule, and this Champions League is certainly that, and we've already seen him have one uncharacteristic, it should be said, slip of concentration so far, but he hasn't got anybody behind him in the pecking order. He's the only right back option for Jeonbuk at the moment. On the left as well, it's a similar situation. They've got Chae Hee-won. He's a youngster. Last Friday was his third professional game, so his professional career trajectory has gone from Yangju Citizen in the FA Cup, Songnam FC, Chiang Rai United, and likely Gamba Osaka this week. I mean, he didn't play badly against Chiang Rai. Didn't do anything out of turn. He probably could have done better on the one goal scoring opportunity he had. But it's kind of concerning that, again, there's no backup left back option there with no Lee Joo-young, who's going to be out till August, I believe. And then we have Chae Chul-sun. He has travelled with the squad, so perhaps there's hope of him returning, but so far it doesn't look like he's going to be coming into the squad. So that kind of is affecting Jeonbuk's tactics now. Before we alluded to perhaps they're keeping something in reserve, keeping something in the tank for this compact schedule, but I think it's also, keeping something back to make sure the players don't get injured, to make sure that players like Lee Young can make it more than 2 matches in a row, and to make sure the inexperience of Chae Hee-won doesn't get overexposed by experience. I think going forward in this tournament, for anybody who is interested in Jeonbuk's potential lineup, I think Jeonbuk will have to look for options like Kim Min-hyuk, who he was played out at left back for the later stages of Friday's game. I imagine Kim Sang-sik sees his position out there if need be, and they have used Koo Jae-rong before at right back. I wouldn't say it was a great choice, but that might be a possibility down the line, or even a 3-back. But yeah, so that was my personal takeaway. I also have something to say about the bubble, but I think Dan has something else he'd like to say about the bubble that his side find himself in.
Well, it's just funny listening to you complain about... well, not complain, but talk about Jeonbuk having a young defender in there.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the Chinese teams, for goodness sake. They're fielding 20 of them or whatever.
There's none in Jeonbuk's group.
Well, okay. Well, you've been unlucky there because I don't know why they bothered showing up. It doesn't look so good. I thought we were going to get Shanghai, but now I kind of wish we did rather than the Filipino team. Kaya.
Yeah.
They'll be hungry. They'll be after it. Whereas the Chinese youth development, I tell you what, these guys aren't really showing themselves in a good light. Anyway, my takeaway. Bangkok at the moment, it's 7 p.m. It is 27 degrees and 88% humidity. Oof. And that's at 7 at night. The 7 o'clock kickoff. Well, actually, no, the 7 o'clock kickoff here is 5 o'clock there. So that's, going to be even hotter. Mm-hmm. So, my takeaway is just the conditions out there look tough. It looks hot. The players look dead on their feet after 20 minutes. So when we were saying about, the tight schedule, keeping something in the tank, maybe I'm almost certain there's some part of that has got to do with the weather, how hot it is out there. And so just thinking about that, I thought, surely this is such an advantage for those teams that are more used to it, the Thai teams, the Filipino teams, the Malaysian teams, and how that, if we'd have played qualifying in previous seasons, those qualifying rounds, if they would be played in Southeast Asia rather than favouring the Korean or Japanese teams, maybe we'd have a different outcome. At the moment, it's a one-legged affair. In a regular season, it's a one-legged affair, usually in Northeast Asia. And the Southeast Asian teams travel to Korea, for example, in March. I think Seoul had that one team, Kedah. They looked absolutely freezing at that time. It's an extra advantage for Seoul to be playing them at the end of the Korean winter. So I just wonder if we had 2 legs in that qualifying round, or if it only happened in Southeast Asia rather than Northeast Asia, would we have had different outcomes? Would a Perak of Malaysia or a Kitchi have got to the Champions League group stage a bit more often than this kind of biased, more weighted towards the Northeast system that we've had over the past few years?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, because until this season, it's been a very much predictable affair of who's going to make it into the competition. And part of that has been the playoffs. Getting 4th in the K-League, or it'll be 3rd and 4th next season. We used to just call it as well that teams in the group stages, because it'd be very rare for a K-League side to lose their home advantage in those playoffs. And yeah, I'd certainly love to see more playoffs in the future being played to the, I don't want to say underdog, but the lower seeded team, let's say. And I mean, even from a financial perspective, it affects the teams that are already that get Champions League money year on year anyway. Let's say Jeonbuk don't finish first this season and have to qualify through the playoffs, heaven forbid. But if the playoffs played in Jeonju, then it's like, well, teams have had to travel all the way over there who perhaps don't get that regular finance year on year. I'm not saying they haven't got income, because they've done well in their own divisions.
Right. But this is where the hunger for the competition seems to be as well. Thailand, the Philippines, and Malaysia. This seems like a good breeding ground for the competition in the future.
Yeah, look at the crowds. When you could look at the crowds, rather, I should say. But you see the support, and in the Thai Premier League, you see the support over in Southeast Asia, and you think, to get the competition there, it looks better on TV for starters, and it could really change the face of the competition if more of those legs are played out there. I was going to mention one thing about the bubble, which is just a personal gripe of mine. I mean, I do understand it was only certain countries that bidded for these groups, and perhaps the countries we wanted to bid for them didn't bid for them. But I just can't understand why Jeonbuk's group is out in Turkmenistan when it favours none of the sides time difference wise. I think Chiang Rai have it closest. I think they're only 2 hours, off Thailand and Turkmenistan. But Jeonbuk, Korea's 4 hours behind, 4 hours ahead rather, and Japan's 4 hours ahead of. But no, that's a very, very good point there. And hopefully something we can see in the future. Right then, we're going to draw this podcast to a close. It's only just after the half-hour mark. But yes, it is a more compact pod than usual. If you want to see this video, if you want to see this podcast in visual form, you can do so on Patreon, where we also have so rare updates. Not going on as much at the moment in the Champions League, but we're bringing that back as soon as the K-League 1 comes back around. We also have K-League Survivor. That will be coming back for those who are already partaking. And we have exclusive editorial pieces, Saturdays. We have potential pub quiz as well, which Ryan keeps touting, and I haven't actually made the questions for. I have no idea when we're doing that, but I believe soon is the answer. There's also full player interviews and podcast extras. Tiers start as low as $1, but there are higher tiers available at $3, $5, and $10. Finally, you can listen to us live every Thursday on Football Nation Radio, or you can subscribe to us via iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, and any good podcasting platform. Leave a review and you will get entered into this month's K-League kit contest, which is a pink Gwangju goalkeeper kit from a couple of seasons ago. Absolutely lovely. I do remember Pete Hampshire once sporting it in full kit with some proper business shoes as well down the streets of Itaewon in the after the Under-20 World Cup final. Oh, those glorious days when we could go out. But
can I just jump in and ask, does that mean that the pink goalkeeper kit is match worn or night out worn? Is it the actual same kit that he wore?
No. Completely different one. It's not a Peter Hampshire.
The beer stains, the
Peter
kebab.
Hampshire Norebang worn pink Gwangju goalkeeper kit. There are pictures out there somewhere. Perhaps we can get Pete to part ways with it and we could put that as our next kit competition. Anyway, as for Dan Croydon, Jung Muyeol, and myself, speak to you later. That's a terrible outro. What does Ryan say? Thanks so much for listening.
Kim Bo-kyung